Tonight, we're covering several huge stories that you might have been paying attention to. Of course, we had the release of the supposed Epstein files. A lot of drama from that. Pam Bondi is not backing down. She's doubling down. Of course, we also had the Zelenskyy blow-up in the Oval Office. Lots of fallout from that, and all of a sudden the protesters have changed their Mexican flags for Ukraine flags, and DeSantis is taking shots at the newest person to announce his run for governor of Florida, I guess, against Casey DeSantis. Will Ron get 8 more years? All of that is coming up tonight on The David Pollack Show. The plush patriot himself. Welcome to another exciting David Pollack Show featuring Puppet Carlson. Puppet, tonight we have so incredibly much to talk about. I think everybody is still talking about the Zelenskyy blow-up, and that's our big story for tonight. There's a couple other smaller things I want to get into. Ron DeSantis, I guess it's shaping up to be the establishment versus America first, and we're going to talk about that. And, of course, the Epstein files were released, but not really. And we'll talk about that, too. But I want to talk about our big story tonight, and that is the massive blow-up in the Oval Office. Zelenskyy came to visit. It didn't go well. And tonight I want to bring in a lot of different angles about what happened. Puppet, did you see it?
I did, Dave. I did see it. And, I have a lot to say about it. So I'm glad it's on the show tonight.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're on the show tonight.
There's a lot of people talking about it.
Yeah, well, and there's a lot to talk about because, of course, all the globalists are suggesting that now, I think Keir Starmer or whatever the hell his name is, the British Prime Minister, he said that he's going to send boots on the ground to Ukraine. It's like they really wanted World War III, and it seemed like this was their opportunity. And I want to talk about that first. I think it's probably we should start at the beginning, and you should see really where it all kind of blew up. Check it out.
Everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
That.
You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on
position
this
to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly
this.
I'm not
You're
dictating.
in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war,
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having
not
cards.
playing cards.
But right now, you don't.
I'm very
You're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're gambling
I'm
with
the
the lives
president
of
in war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War III.
What do you
You're
think about?
gambling
What
with
do you
World
think
War
about?
III. And
You-
what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. It's
with
back
all
to
respect to
you.
your
Far
country.
more than a lot of people said
very
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once?
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for
What-
the United
what
States
are you
of
speaking
America
about?
and the president who's trying to.
Wow. So
That
I'm
was
watching-
a lot.
I'm
There's so
watching-
much to say there.
Well, let's say it. I mean, look, my first impression was So I didn't watch. There's 40 minutes, and now I've watched it since, and I have the clip of why this happened. Of course, the media was only showing you this part. It made it look like Trump was just being really disrespectful to Zelenskyy, and that's not really what happened. But that
you can't. It's really misrepresentative to begin here in this video clip that you showed tonight.
Yeah, but that's where everybody else have seen this. That is basically where everybody else has sort of based their entire either support for the president or anger for the president based on that part. Because of course people are I don't want to say this to be mean, but people are lazy. They don't want to actually watch the whole video. They like the clips, and the clips is enough for them to form an opinion. And once they form an opinion, they're good with it. And but the media is being dishonest and not showing the whole clip. And I'll show it here in a minute, Puppet. But man, when you saw Trump dress down Zelenskyy, not that he can be dressed down any more than he already is dressed down, what was your thought?
Yeah, I mean, especially if you just take the clip, I mean, it is very harsh and hard. And, and I like that, you get to see Trump, like, being Trump, like, and putting people in their place. My first thought, though, is I can't believe this is on television. I can't believe they aired this, or they put this in front of a camera. And of course, the reality is they didn't intend to put that in front of the camera.
Right.
They intended to put something much different in front of the camera, and this is where it ended up, which is partly why those guys are so annoyed 40 minutes into this television program, basically, because all of the stuff that led up to this, not even in this room this day, plus Zelensky's behavior leading up to this on tape here, is all just what culminated in this blow up that you see right here in the video we showed.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, Trump said he wanted peace very quickly.
Yeah. From minute one.
I don't think Zelenskyy actually wants peace.
No, he does not want peace.
And the whole thing is just this giant grift. And look, I will be sensitive to the fact that Russia invaded Ukraine. He did it when he took Crimea under Obama. He did it when Biden was president. He invaded Ukraine, lots of loss of lives. Now, Ukraine is conscripting people, putting them on the front lines and where they're dying. Russia's lost, I think, hundreds of thousands of troops. It has been a bloody battle. Of course, we never know here really what the truth is over there because we have fake news that gives us our information. But that and anything that's anti-Ukraine is Russian disinformation, and anything is it's who knows. But I do know that Zelenskyy has this sense of entitlement, and look, you can support Ukraine, and you can really be disappointed in Russia and hold them responsible, but you can't discount this feeling that you get when you see Zelenskyy, right? Always wearing his battle uniform. And apparently he wears that because he vowed to his countrymen that until while this war is ongoing, he wouldn't wear a suit. I think it's just he wants to remind everybody that, I'm here because I'm at war.
He's a tough guy. Yeah. I mean, this guy's an actor. I mean, if you go back and look at the stuff the guy did before he became president, which is just this guy's the epitome of puppet. He's a political puppet. Hands down from the get-go. He's a trained actor. He's pretending to be a president. He's installed for everything from the fatigues to everything that he's done. It's all just theater. It's all theater for the globalists. He's a globalist puppet, period, and that's just the way it is. And this is all just BS. And the whole Russian invading crime, I have a great video on my X account I had reposted. It's like 5 minutes long, and it kind of goes through the history of the Russia-Ukraine war, but it's really just what has happened over the years. And there's so much more to it than to just say, oh, Russia invaded here and Russia invaded there, and then they got into there's it's all political, of course, and there's so much politics to it and so much back and forth. And, obviously the United States had a huge part in actually kicking off the bloody part of the war by basically torpedoing the peace talks early on and between Boris Johnson and Biden. And here this is where we get. And Trump comes in, and all Trump wants to do is end the fighting, end the war, end the killing. And, we've got people trying to fight against that, which is just insanity.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you have Zelenskyy goes, when Trump went to go meet with Putin, and Zelenskyy says, if Russia and America come up with a deal before, I talk to Trump, or if I'm not there, I'm not accepting any deal. It's like he keeps setting all of these conditions as if he's in a position to negotiate. The reality is, Russia, if it wanted to, it has the military to wipe Ukraine off the map. Now, look, we talked to George Papadopoulos on this show, and there was agreements made when Ukraine surrendered its nuclear weapons. They're supposed to be protected, and there's a lot of politics. And I understand the anger of the Ukrainian people. Like, you left us defenseless, and now you have this obligation, But at the same time, this whole, billions and billions of dollars, and it doesn't seem as if Zelenskyy has any interest in actually ending the war, except for on his own terms. And I think that's what we started to see. Now, of course, the negotiations got tight. This minerals deal starts to make itself, Trump starts touting this minerals deal that's going to be worth $1 trillion, apparently, of these rare earth minerals that are underneath Ukraine. And they were going to give Trump access to it. And that was going to put an American presence in Ukraine. And the idea there was that, I guess, it would dissuade Russia. But I have a theory on this, and I'll talk about it in a second. But they were in the White House to sign this minerals deal. A lot of people suggested that there was no actual minerals under the ground, or it would be way too expensive to actually extract them. A lot of people questioned it. Then after what I saw in the White House, that whole thing kind of made sense to me, and I'm going to give you a conspiracy hypothesis. But I want to show you how this started versus how it ended. Check it out.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to have President Zelenskyy of Ukraine. And we've been working very hard, very close. So we've actually known each other for a long time. We've been dealing with each other for a long time, and very well. We had a little negotiation spat, but that worked out great. I think for both countries, I think for the world, actually, beyond both countries. And we have something that is a very fair deal. And we look forward to getting in and digging and working and getting some of the rare earth. But it means we're going to be inside, and it's a big commitment from the United States, and we appreciate working with you very much. And we will continue to do that. We have had some very good discussions with Russia. I spoke with President Putin, and we're going to try and bring this to a close. It's something that you want and that he wants. We have to negotiate a deal, but we've started the confines of a deal, and I think something can happen. The big thing is the number of soldiers, mostly at this point, but soldiers being killed. You're losing thousands of soldiers. So on both sides, we're losing a lot of soldiers, and we want to see it stop. And we want to see the money get put to different kinds of use, like rebuilding. And we're going to be working very hard. But we've had a lot of very good conversations. I will say, until we came along, the Biden administration didn't speak to Russia whatsoever. They didn't speak to anybody. They just allowed this to continue. And I will say that, I'll say in front of you, you've heard me say it 1,000 times, if I were president, this war would have never happened. We would have had a deal negotiated for you without having to go through what you've gone through. But your soldiers have been unbelievably brave. We've given them great equipment, but somebody has to use the equipment. They've been unbelievably brave. And we give them great credit. This was supposed to be over very quickly, and here we are 3 years later. So I give tremendous credit to your generals and your soldiers and yourself, in the sense that it's been very hard fighting, very tough fighting. They're great fighters, and you have to be very proud of them from that standpoint. But now we want to get it over with. It's enough, right? We want to get it over with. So It's an honor to have you here. Thank you very much for coming. We're going to sign.
Totally different than what you're seeing in the media, right? He was complimentary to him. He talked about the braveness of his soldiers. I mean, that was just a normal, boring diplomatic meeting in the Oval Office where they were going to go sign some stuff and everything's supposed to be hunky-dory.
Yeah.
Trump wasn't disrespectful to Zelenskyy.
No. And, you know, that didn't just pop out of nowhere. Rubio and Vance were meeting with Zelenskyy ahead of time, made deals with Zelenskyy ahead of time. This was all essentially hammered out and done. This was a formality. This was a dog and pony show to talk to the American people, to show the American people that we are on the road to peace in Ukraine, and that the United States is going to get paid back something, at least, for the billions of dollars that the taxpayers have spent in this war effort.
Right.
But you could tell from Zelensky's body language, even in that clip there, that when Trump talks about ending the war and peace and the minerals deal, he's not, and that this is a done deal, and that he's spoken to Putin, that he might have a different agenda.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, please, go ahead.
And I think that, you know, obviously he did have a different agenda, and that's why this thing goes awry by 40 minutes in. But I think that Zelenskyy did all of this on purpose. This was a puppet performance because his handlers told him, you got to go in there and take the opportunity to be on American media to show you're a boss and to show your strength and to put America in its place and say, we need to keep this going. We need more weapons, more support, more money, and we're not going to end this battle.
Yeah, I think there was. I agree with you, and I think I have a different conspiracy hypothesis that I'll go over here shortly.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I want you to see the point in where this thing sort of falls apart. I think this is this clip. Hold on, let me make sure it's the right.
Do you know how far this is into the meeting at this
40
point?
minutes. It's like 40 minutes and 20 seconds or something.
What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So he occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact line?
2015.
2014.
2014 and 2015.
2014.
Yeah. So
I was not here.
Yeah, but
That's exactly right.
Yes, but during 2014 till 2022, yeah, the situation the same. The people have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversations, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him, me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire. All of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract. Gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy.
And that's where the blow up begins. JD Vance lectures. Everybody's seen that clip at this point. He says he came into the White House, he was disrespectful, and he kind of lays into him and lets him have it. The thing is, that was such an interesting timing and the way he said it, right? Because just before that, what you don't see, again, if you watch the whole video, you'll see that was the very end. They were getting ready. They were done. They were getting ready to go have lunch and sign that agreement. Trump said, one more question, one more question. And that's when J.D. Vance sort of interrupts and is like, you know, thank God for President Trump. I kind of had an issue, though, with, I know J.D. Vance is just excited, and what I think he is, he's just, I can understand he's gung-ho. Like, you know, he wants to be part of the conversation. You know, he did a lot of work, and he wants to really be in the room. The way I see it, a chain of command, that's the president sitting there. Let the president speak. Like, sit there. Like, Marco Rubio didn't say a word, and, you know, there was a couple of points where he spoke, but he didn't speak like JD did. JD, in my opinion, and that's fine that Zelensky spoke to JD. He's like, hey, can I say something? And JD's like, sure. And then that's how that engagement started. But in my opinion, I don't think JD Vance should have answered that question. I don't think I have that clip here. But the reason why JD Vance is talking here, they were about to wrap. I mean, they said last question, and then JD Vance goes, wait a second, I have something to say here. I didn't feel like that was his place. You know, he's the vice president, not the president. If the president had something to say, the president would have said it. That's where you just sit there, you know, your hands folded, and you let the meeting go about business. That if I have to criticize, I don't mind JD Vance sticking up for the Oval Office. I don't mind JD Vance sticking up to Zelensky. I thought that was all great. I just feel like this happened, though. I feel like we walked into something, and I'm going to tell you my conspiracy hypothesis here. Puppet.
Before you jump into the hits, I want to comment on what you just said.
Yeah.
I have to agree. I felt like in this conversation there was a lot of JD Vance talking,
right,
that may not have been necessary,
right,
and in certain cases might have been overstepping.
Yeah,
and you know, in a negotiation, which this isn't a negotiation in theory, because the negotiation already happened and already took place between really Vance and Rubio and Zelensky.
Right.
I believe that's how it went down. Trump was not there. But when they're, you know, they're in a negotiation because they're there together to close this deal, and they're in front of the cameras, and Trump is the boss. Right. And when the boss is handling business, you don't need to interrupt and throw monkey wrenches into the works.
Yes. Yeah, and it almost felt like, how do I say this? It almost felt like JD didn't respect Trump in that moment. Like, you know, and I'm not saying he doesn't respect Trump, but he didn't in that moment, because Trump's a big boy. He can answer questions on his own. He doesn't need JD Vance going, wait a second, let me talk to the press. And I understand that that's Trump's style. He likes to let everybody have a voice. But in that moment, the fact that Zelensky is engaging Vance and Vance is engaging Zelensky back and forth in front of Trump while Trump just sits there, it was so disrespectful. It's like, was he not in the room? That's the president of the United States, and you guys are having a conversation while he sits there like he's holding court or something. It was just very odd. And you know, I see Trump sitting there and thinking, and I honestly think Trump felt compelled, because you have to go back, and I wish I had the ability to play clips and clips and clips and clips of this 40-minute interview. At about 20 minutes mark, and I encourage the audience to go back and watch the whole 40-minute clip. It's out there, and I can post it. You have to see, there's several points in which Zelensky said, you're lucky you have this ocean to protect you. He said it a couple of times. That wasn't the first time when Trump reacted to it. And he was somewhat aggressive to Trump at around the 20-minute mark, too, saying, like, you said, you know, there was a little bit of pushback, right? But Trump didn't react to it. Trump just let it go, right? Him and Zelensky were talking. They went back and forth, and it was fine. It wasn't until that moment, after JD and Zelensky went back and forth with each other, that it seemed like Trump felt compelled to be like, you don't know that. That's what he's like, you don't know that. But that wasn't the first time Zelensky said that comment about the ocean. But I felt like Trump felt compelled to play tough with Zelensky, because his vice president now is telling Zelensky that he's disrespecting the Oval Office. And who would Trump be as commander-in-chief if he doesn't smack the crap out of Zelensky at that moment? He has to. Now he has to defend the Oval Office, because J.D. Vance pointed out the fact that Zelensky disrespected the Oval Office, rather than the diplomatic thing to do. And I'm not saying Trump isn't diplomatically skilled, But we were about to get $1 trillion of supposedly $1 trillion of rare earth minerals back from Ukraine. Let Zelenskyy cry like a baby. You go, okay. And you move on. You ignore it. But JD reacted to it. And then Trump had to react to it. And that spiraled out of control. And then we are where we are. Right? Do you want to comment on that before I tell you my conspiracy hypothesis? Because this is really where it leads into.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that maybe it was that. Maybe J.D. Vance felt like he needed to show some strength of his own in that meeting so that he is more than just a lame duck vice president. I don't know. Maybe he was showing off. I don't exactly know. Maybe he was trying to, pander to Trump and, give the boss some kudos.
Right.
And, and that backfired on him, and then it escalated, of course. And then Trump feels like he has to stand up for his own guy, right? And the Oval Office and the American, institution. And so now they're and he, Trump's not a pushover, obviously. And so the entire time Zelenskyy is, and you have to watch the whole interview, Zelenskyy is essentially saying, reneging on the deal, and is essentially saying, I don't really want peace. I want to continue this war, and you guys need to provide security measures. You got to continue to provide weapons. You've got to come in and protect us with soldiers. You got to do all of these things, or it's not a deal. And you could tell that Trump's getting annoyed because they already have a deal, and none of that is part of it. And this is where Vance is annoyed too, and why he's saying you're disrespecting the office. You're not thanking us. You're being, not grateful for all that we've done already. And then Trump basically says, look, if you're not into peace, then this is over, because this is a peace. We are about peace, not about continuing the war. We're not continuing the war, period. And then he says, you don't have the cards. Zelenskyy, and this is all the backing of the globalist. And Zelenskyy was at a meeting prior to this meeting with all of the warmongers, right? And so he was even late to the meeting with President Trump because he was in a meeting with all the warmonger liberal politicians. And I think he was feeling a little bullish from that conversation, and felt like he could, renegotiate the deal somewhat in this meeting. At the very least, look like he is trying to renegotiate the deal. And, Trump's like, you don't have the cards for this. You don't have the leverage you think you have to be postponing to continue with this war and to try to force us to do something that we don't want to do. And obviously then the whole thing fell apart.
Right. But yes, but what I'm saying is that stuff usually, those conversations, those tough talks happen behind closed doors.
Of course.
Right. And arguably they would have already happened.
Yes.
So the fact that they happened publicly, I think, demonstrates two things. And this is where my conspiracy hypothesis comes in.
I can't wait.
But I do think J.D. Vance overstepped. I don't think that was the place for him to open his mouth. Look, I respect him. He's a good vice president. He's tough. I get it. But the president is the president, and the president was there. That's not your job. You're the vice president. Your job is to be there if the president isn't available. The president was there and he was available. Your job is to sit there and support him, not get into an argument with the president of Ukraine. Now, I understand he doesn't respect Zelenskyy, but there's two presidents talking, right? J.D. Vance isn't a president. He's a vice president. So for the vice president to get in a shouting match with another country's president in front of our president, it was just a bad look. I didn't like it. And but here's where I think J.D. Vance took the bait. And I think this is where his inexperience on the world stage shows versus Trump's experience on the world stage. And like I said, I don't think Trump had a choice but to defend J.D. Vance in the Oval Office once J.D. went at it with Zelenskyy. I think he had no choice at this point. But I think this was all a massive con. And I'm going to tell you why. And I'm trying to think if I should do this Pulp Fiction style. I'm going to do this Pulp Fiction style. Before I go into the massive con, I'm going to show you what happened within hours of this Oval Office smackdown. Hours after this blow up, all these thousands of Ukrainian flags, posters, pre-printed as usual. Somehow all the liberals knew the national anthem to Ukraine, and the ones who didn't just lip sang it, moved their mouths while everybody else sung.
Yeah, so what a surprise.
Right. But this is, and then of course you had the emergency EU meeting with Keir Starmer promising to send boots into Ukraine.
Yeah.
Promised $2.6 billion in pledges.
Yeah. Which they don't even have.
No. But here is the conspiracy hypothesis. And this is what I think happened intentionally. And I think we walked into it. And I think J.D. Vance brought us into it, to be honest with you. And I'm going to tell you why. As soon as that rare earth mineral claim was made, like that, okay, we're going to get $1 trillion worth of earth minerals, a lot of people were saying, we can't access those. It would be way too expensive. And then, yes, they said they have them, but they've never been able to extract them. And we don't know if that's really there. There was a lot of people who were suggesting that that deal wasn't really a deal at all, right? Well, if that's true, then what would be the purpose then of giving the United States or offering the United States minerals that weren't really readily attainable? Like the United States would figure it out really quickly that we didn't have access to those, right? And then what was the deal? So my theory is that this entire thing is a setup because I think that they wanted to use this idea of this rare earth minerals thing to get the U.S. to the negotiating table, knowing that Zelenskyy was going to blow it up at the end because there was nothing actually there. So they strung it around long enough to have this Oval Office meeting, and I think Zelenskyy purposely waited for the right moment, right when Trump said, last question. Then he goes and turns to J.D. Vance, not Trump, because he kept, like I said, poking Trump, ignored. So what does he do? He turns to the younger, inexperienced statesman and says, hey, I'm going to tell you something that's going to make you mad. And what did J.D. Vance do? He got mad. And then what did Trump do? He got mad. And then what happened? The deal fell apart. And what happened in return? These pre-planned protests are ready to go. Emergency EU meeting, sending boots. The whole thing, I think, was a setup to actually escalate the war. And this Oval Office meeting, that was the whole entire purpose of it. And we took the bait. We took the bait because now they have a new boogeyman. It's not just Putin anymore. Now it's Trump. It's not just Putin anymore. It's Trump. And now we have to rise up against Trump and create. This is the revenge of the globalists. And my theory is that they promised Zelenskyy money and weapons and support to keep this globalist war going. Because what's happening in Europe right now? You look at Romania, they denied the president. They had a presidential election. The conservative won, Georgescu. And then all of a sudden they said, no, we're going to cancel that election. And next thing you know, they're putting him in jail. We saw this happen with Bolsonaro in Brazil. Bolsonaro is way ahead. Mail-in ballots come in the middle of the night. Next thing you know, there's a quote-unquote January 6th in Brazil. I think it was January 8th there or something funny like that. And then they charge Bolsonaro with a coup, essentially. And this is happening over and over again. And while all this is happening, now Trump is a villain. Everybody's coming to the defense of Ukraine. And all those Mexican flags that they were waving and singing the Mexican national anthem 2 weeks ago, now everybody knows the Ukrainian national anthem. And all the globalists in Europe who do not like America want there to be a war. And here is why. Guess what happens if Great Britain sends 2,000 troops to Ukraine and Russia kills a couple of them? Well, now we have a NATO country.
We have a NATO war, of course.
Now we have a NATO, which is what they want. They want a NATO war. And this is what Zelensky said when he was in Europe a week ago. Europe needs its own army. All of this is a big freaking scam.
And then if U.S. doesn't come in on NATO, then
we've breached the agreement. And now when the United States leaves NATO, they'll get kicked out. We'll kick the United States out of NATO because the reality is there is no NATO without the United States. They are trying to flip the table and reset the deck. And I think this minerals deal was fake. And then you have Putin, by the way, and my last point on this, Puppet. Then you have Putin saying, we have just as many minerals. We'll do a deal.
We'll make a deal with you on the minerals.
Right.
Well, and this is the problem because then it looks like they're trying to set up Trump to be allied with Putin, right? Like they're pushing us to be allied with Putin in a way. Yeah. Right. So we're not going to escalate the war. We're not going to go to war. We're not going to support NATO. We're not going to send troops. So now we're supporting Putin, right? Now we're on Putin's side, right? Quote unquote. Right. And of course, that fits the narrative of Trump's a dictator and that Trump, is
Russia.
Trump's communist.
It's Russia.
Russia.
They said that Trump, they did this in 2016. They said that Trump is a Putin puppet. He said, no offense to the puppet.
None taken.
He said that Trump is a Putin puppet, that he's aligned with Russia. Russia interfere with the election. Russia. I sat back and I go, where are all the protesters? Like, after the election, there was no protest. Even the Mexican protests with the Mexican flags. And funny enough, like most of the people who crossed the border are not Mexican. The majority of them are not from Mexico. But of course, the liberals had their Mexican flags because that was the narrative they were trying to prove. But that disappeared. I said, where are the pallets of bottled waters and bricks? I don't understand. Did all of these Antifa people just disappear? My theory was they were waiting for something. This, I think, was the play. I think all of this Ukraine stuff was the plan all along. I think when Barack Obama went to England right after the election to reassure them of God knows what, I think the plan was always to tie Trump to Putin and have this Ukraine thing be the exact thing that ties them together. This is going to cause conflict with Europe, and it's going to put them at odds with Trump, and they're going to try to convince, through social media and fake news, convince Americans that Trump is in line with Putin, propping up a dictator, and all of these things. This was their plan, and they're just getting started. You saw these promises of weapons and troops to Ukraine. You're going to put British troops in harm's way in Ukraine to face off Russia? Why? Why? When we had a peace deal sitting there for Zelensky to go and throw out the door. All of this, that's my theory.
Multiple
my theory
times.
was this is what the protests are. This is what they've been waiting for. And they're going to use this, by the way, to try to hurt Trump. And they'll be able to pull off. I believe they're going to be. This is where Republicans need to find their backbones. Because this Ukraine issue, and I'm glad Lindsey Graham is out there saying, oh, yeah, I'm disappointed in Zelensky. Thank God. Because I think you can find a couple of flaky Republicans to go, well, yeah. I mean, you already saw, who was it? Murkowski was out there. Was it Murkowski?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
or it was the other one. What's the one from Maine? That's Collins. No, it was Murkowski.
Yeah,
Murkowski was saying, oh, I'm very disappointed in this, and this is our allies. This is what's going to happen. You're going to pull off a couple of flaky Republicans, and then they're right back to the distraction politics and trying to stop Trump, tying him to Russia, and all of these things to stop what Trump is trying to do. Now, that's my conspiracy hypothesis. I think this was a setup all along. I think we walked into it, and I don't know. That's at least my theory. I could be wrong, but that's what my 2 cents is on that.
There's so much there, and there's a whole conversation about Russia, and look, Russia has way more value to the United States than Ukraine does, right? Especially in a war against China. I mean, so like there's some real geopolitics here, and putting this 40-minute meeting in front of the public is just really a red herring about what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think it's a whole setup. And look, and all those things I said, I still think J.D. Vance is a fantastic vice president. He's doing a great job. He's new. And I think Zelensky is playing a very dangerous and clever game. And I think maybe Vance thought that he was perhaps operating with a little bit more good faith, that Zelenskyy was operating with a little more good faith, and I don't think he was. And I think this whole thing, I think he goaded Vance into getting upset with him. And I think Trump had no choice but to defend his vice president, which I would do as well, and defend the Oval Office, which I would do as well. So no blame. I just think this whole thing was a setup. And, you know, it is what it is.
Because Zelensky's a puppet.
Zelenskyy is a puppet of the globalists.
That's right. Globalist puppet.
Correct.
And that was all set up. And you look, you got to love Vance because Vance is one of us. Vance is a hillbilly, right?
Yeah.
Vance is a hillbilly who ascended to the top, almost the top of the heap. And you know, that's why we like him, because when he gets pushed, he pushes back. You know, that's why we like Trump. Right. Because when Trump gets pushed, he pushes back. He doesn't play like a politician. He plays like we would play, you know, like people play. And that's why everybody loves him. That's why he galvanizes the American public. I think JD is the same way. But, you know, this is a game of chess, right? And sometimes you have to pull back because sometimes you could be being lured into a trap, as you said earlier.
And that's what I think happened here. I think Zelenskyy was smart enough to know this is going to irritate JD Vance, and JD Vance is a fighter, so is Trump. He pushed Trump's buttons the entire time. It wasn't until he pushed Vance's buttons that he got the reaction he was looking for. Watch the 40 minutes. You'll see it. You could see it. He kept poking, but Trump never reacted. Trump was like, look, I just want to eat my lunch. I got a lot of other things to do. Like, he was ready to go move on with his day.
And Trump just wanted the deal, man.
Yeah, and I don't really think Trump really look, Trump will support his team. He's loyal like that. And I just think, though, this is giving the globalists exactly what they want. Now they can escalate the war rather than end it, because they have no interest in ending this war. But we'll see. Maybe there's a peace deal to be had. I just find the whole thing very interesting. Now, you know what? Let's take a quick break, because I do want to talk about these Epstein files too, because I think Pam Bondi got a very unfair amount of criticism for this. I've had a discussion 7 Way to Sundays about this, and people make some good arguments. But I want to talk about that when we get back. So let's take a quick break, Puppet. And guys, don't go anywhere. We are going to be right back, and we're talking about these Epstein files. We'll be right back.
I'm Scotty Cahill, and I'm the founding partner at FinSec Life. FinSec Life is an independent agency that works with a multitude of carriers that brings the best pricing to each client we serve. With our 40 plus years of experience in the industry, allows us to deliver unique results to each individual client. We do not get paid until your policy is placed, until you have your insurance. So we will do the work. We will ensure that everything is taken care of, whether you get the best pricing, whether you get treated fairly by the underwriting team. If you have an existing policy and you want to know whether the policy is performing as it should, or if you have additional needs for insurance, please contact us at 321-800-3901, and we'll be happy to quote you on a new insurance. The phone number again is 321-800-3901, and the website is finseclife.com, financialsecurityforlife.com.
In today's fast-paced world, effective communication is the backbone of successful businesses. Are outdated systems and high costs slowing you down? Switch to Public Telephone Company for cutting-edge voice-over IP solutions. Enjoy seamless connectivity, unparalleled reliability, and significant cost savings. Tailor-made voice-over IP solutions designed for your business needs. Join countless businesses in transforming your communication with Public Telephone Company. Public Telephone Company. Revolutionize the way you connect.
You know, Puppet, before the break, I was going to support my hypothesis with some of the fake news already doing the rounds, too, in addition to those phony protests. I want to throw one of these clips up real quick. check this out. This is our good friend that was used to work for the CIA and funded, and in the news report that he helped inform was funded by U.S. aid, but now he's out talking about this.
I want to know why our ally is allowed to disrespect the United States of America, the leader, the current leader of this free
J.D.
world.
Vance owes Zelenskyy an apology. President Trump owes Zelenskyy an apology for the way he was treated.
For what?
I demand it.
What?
I demand that they give.
You demand. Okay, UN resolution number 2.
If you're going to go ahead and say preposterous things like Zelenskyy owes an apology for being attacked, I'm going to go ahead and say something outrageous. Actually, I'm going to go.
The price of you say that Ukraine wants peace.
I think J.D. Vance should resign. How about that? We're just going to go through crazy stuff into the air.
You say Ukraine wants peace. Yeah. If Zelenskyy wanted peace, then he would have kept his mouth shut.
What? He did until there were lies.
What?
Until there were lies.
J.D. Vance didn't lie about anything.
They were talking about not a dictator.
That wasn't.
That's not what he was responding to.
And actually, that guy made an excellent point, and it actually reinforces what I said. If Zelenskyy wanted peace, he would have kept his mouth shut. So what does that suggest? He didn't actually.
He doesn't want peace. And that's why Trump blew up on him ultimately, because Trump said this is supposed to be about getting to peace, not about continuing the war. Exactly. And as long as your mindset is continuing the war and you have hate and you want to fight, then we're not going to get where we need to get. You're not going to get where Trump wanted to get. And since we hold all the cards, and as he said, you don't have any of the cards, then the conversation was over.
Well, yeah. And by the way, I think that the fact that I think Trump realized, honestly, when JD got upset, I think Trump realized that Zelenskyy was up. I don't think, to be clear, I don't think that Trump was like, I'm just going to get mad to upstage Vance. I think he realized what happened at that moment. I think he knew he was getting goaded and he was ignoring it. Then he ticked off JD. JD responded, and then Trump's like, this SOB. He really wants to screw up this thing, and that's what pissed Trump off. I think Trump realized what Zelenskyy. Trump is very smart.
Yeah, he realized they were torpedoing the whole thing on purpose.
I think he realized when JD got mad, he's like, "Yep, that's what Zelenskyy is." I think he realized the same thing I realized. To be honest with you, I think he knew, and that's why he got so pissed. But then, of course, our favorite Krispy Kreme Christie, he can't leave it alone either. Check this out.
What we need to understand is, and what I think the president should try to do now, is to understand the part of the problem here is that he looks and sounds like an ally of Putin. And, you know, Secretary Rubio was saying, well, we got to get Putin to the table. Well, you know, you can get someone to the table in a number of different ways. And it's not just through honey. Sometimes it's also through letting them know we're going to continue to stand with our friends. And
you know, you can get Chris Christie anywhere with honey. Honey, Butterfingers, M&M's, Kit Kats. Like if he was our president, you would know exactly the way to his heart. The diplomacy of Chris Christie would be the Dunkin' Donuts diplomacy. That's how you do that. Donut diplomacy. Oh man, but yeah, but then here we are.
Yeah, well, that was also a shill. He's also a puppet,
of course,
and he's setting up the Trump is aligned with Putin narrative, right? Correct. There it is. That's the beginning of it. This guy starts off on the right? Like, like he's like he's on our side or something. Like that's a joke.
Well, but that's exactly the point, right? And this was the play, and I think Zelenskyy was part of it. And but look, underestimate Trump at your own peril. I'll say that 1,000 times. You must have not paid attention from 2016 to 2020. You must have not paid attention from 2020 to 2024. And you still must not be paying attention if you think that you can try something like this and have it succeed with Donald Trump. He doesn't back down. He doesn't quit. He's a survivor and he's a fighter. And despite how smart these people think they are, Trump is always a step ahead. Always a step ahead. And let me tell you something for our globalist friends in Europe, the ones who want to silence speech and cancel elections. You need us way more than we need you. And if you want to drive us to Putin, if you want to drive us to Russia and make that the alliance versus the alliance with Europe, look, yeah, I get it. We've been allies for a long time. and there's some countries we should be aligned with in Europe. But the liberal elite globalists that are running the EU right now, the ones that are arresting people for speech, the ones that were cheering Trump's own arrest here at home, the ones that are going along with the garbage that's going on in Romania,
they're just as bad as they're worse than Putin.
Allies. That's exactly right. These are not our allies.
No.
And if they want to go and fight with Zelenskyy against Putin and try to push the United States to form an alliance with Russia, fine. Guess what? A Russia-United States alliance is far more powerful, by the way, and lucrative considering the energy resources of Russia.
Yeah, I was going to say this earlier, and I stopped myself because I didn't want to go down this rabbit hole. But yeah, I mean, so America aligns with Russia. Much better for the American needs, right. And because we need to fight. We need a partner who's actually strong enough to fight against China. And we definitely don't want to drive. We're already driving China and Russia in bed together. We want to stop that. So America and Russia together is probably, one of the strongest alliances you could possibly have on the planet.
Well, and think about all the wars the proxy wars we fight, right? Iran is emboldened by Russia. We fight Iranians' proxy forces in the Middle East. Well, Israel does. And then we through our support of Israel, end up in these fights as well. I mean, there has been this, it's not even a cold war, but just like a cold conflict between Russia and the United States for decades. And the thing is, we're partners in space. We're partners in a lot of other things where it comes to us being able to get along. I don't understand why we can't find peace with Russia. I mean, I'm sure there's policies and things that Russia does, and there might be questions about the way elections are run or human rights and all that, and those can be addressed. But you know what? They're locking people up in Romania right now, and after a EU member is locking people up in England, they're banging on people's doors and putting them in jail because they don't like their social media posts.
Yeah, in Germany, they're putting them in jail for memes.
Right, for memes. And by the way, Europe's leftist open border policy has invited the third and fourth world into the West, and they're doing terrible things to their citizens. Their citizens are fed up with it. I mean, Europe
Europe is becoming a Muslim nation, right? Like,
and they're violating their own people's civil rights.
Yeah.
So maybe we move past these historic alliances and go, okay, what does America first mean? America first doesn't mean trade deficits with Europe. America first doesn't mean paying 3 times as much to protect Europeans who hate us.
Right.
You know what those
that also don't support and continue American values.
Right. Well, that's exactly right.
Or free speech.
Right. And if you look at what European Union is doing, there's countries like, for example, in is it Hungary? And Hungary does not allow migrants to come into their country, even though the EU has an open border policy, and because they're an EU member state, they have the responsibility of taking in these immigrants from these terrible places and where they're doing terrible things. And Hungary said no. EU is fining them $1 million a day or €1 million a day every time they don't take these immigrants. But Hungary doesn't have the problems that other countries do in Europe because they're not taking the immigrants. So this is the way they operate. They push people around. They try to shove their liberal agendas down people's throats. And yet now they're going to shame us and slide their finger down at us and try to suggest that we're doing bad things because we want the war in Ukraine to end while they want it to continue. So no, I think it's time we flip this table over and reset the deck. We should have an alliance with everybody who we need to have an alliance with. We need to talk to people. Diplomacy means we need to end the wars, not give our European partners reasons to start new wars and obligate us to defend them. That's my theory on this whole thing. And look, yes, the Ukrainian people, we feel bad for anybody who's in a war situation. And, of course, everybody wants the war to end. I don't think Zelenskyy
except
wants
for Zelenskyy and the war hawks.
Right. Well, and that's the problem.
And the globalists. Right. The problem is too many people don't want this war to end, and not enough people actually want it to end. That is the problem.
Too many people that don't want the war to end are not the ones losing their lives by the war continuing. That's the thing. When Zelenskyy is taking people and putting them on the front lines, conscripting people, and they're dying in a war that they don't even want to be in. Almost half the country wants the damn war to end in Ukraine. Who wants these wars to continue? And this is what has to stop. And we'll see how this thing develops. You know, it's coming. It's coming. These Ukraine protests are coming. There's going to be Republicans that are going to be the squishy ones are going to start speaking out against Russia's or Trump's alliance with Russia. It's all coming. And we've been here before. We're going to be there again. And this is why it's important. This is a good segue for what I want to talk about next. I do want to talk about the Epstein files, and I'll talk about that very briefly at the end of the show.
Oh, I was going to give you a great transition for that.
Well, but this is really more important because there's something going on here, Puppet, and it's really important to see. And I think this might shed a light into exactly what's happening. Check it out.
Oh, shoot. And if so, what your pitch is to voters about your qualifications?
Well, I would say one thing, to quote the late, great Yogi Berra: when you come to a fork in the road, take it.
You guys can read in that what you want. Look, I mean, I think that I've had people coming up to me for years begging to get her in the fray because I think you see with her presentation. I mean, she's passionate, she's articulate, she's smart, she's got rock solid values. I remember Rush Limbaugh.
My wife, she's so hilarious.
I don't even know what this is.
I'll tell you exactly what this is. We have 3.5 more years, a little bit more than 3.5 years at this point. It's only been 45 days since Trump was inaugurated, but elections are happening already. We really have a very short period of time to cement America first. This really, and this is why I'm talking about this. You talk about the globalists, you talk about the uni parties and everything that's happening. The people that oppose Trump, the Republicans that oppose Trump, didn't go away. Just like after World War II, the Nazis that escaped didn't disappear. They went to other countries and they hid and they waited. And some of them came into academia in the United States. The thing is, these anti-Trump, anti-America first, pro-globalist, uni-party, Democrat, Republican, Mitch McConnell, Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, Republicans didn't go away. They're just hiding at the moment. Like roaches. The lights are on and they're under the furniture, under the fridge, in the warm space underneath the stove, eating the crumbs until it's time to come out again. They didn't go away. And what you're seeing, right, with Ron DeSantis, who, by the way, is, you talk about puppet.
He's a puppet.
He is the establishment puppet of the year. I mean, that's what he is. You talk about puppets. He came out, turned his back towards MAGA, who put him in where we wanted him after COVID, given a resounding victory in the 2022 election. And what does he do? Months later, he turns his back on MAGA and runs against our leader, right? He goes, no chance of winning. Says horrible things about anybody who supports Trump, which were his supporters, by the way. He goes and hires an entire social media crew to go out on X and insult people and harass people and attack people. This man did whatever the establishment told him to do because it was up to Ron DeSantis to stop Trump. They were hoping Trump would get indicted. Trump was indicted federally in the state of Florida, and DeSantis didn't even show up, okay? Ron DeSantis is the GOP establishment who pretends to be MAGA when it's politically expedient for him. What we are seeing, right, with this whole Ukraine thing and the globalists in Europe that I keep saying, these are not our friends, these are not our allies. It's the same people here in the United States, and this is what makes me worried. The establishment is waiting for the opportunity to come out and step on America first. And now this whole Casey DeSantis thing, where'd it come from? Well, Byron Donalds, an America First, Trump-endorsed, very qualified gubernatorial candidate, somebody that the people love. The people love Byron Donalds. He's great. He's electric. He's conservative. He's consistent. He does a great job. And I think he'd be arguably more popular than Ron DeSantis. The establishment cannot allow Byron Donalds to become governor because now America First is cemented in the state of Florida. And this is going to happen in elections all over this country. America First is a threat to the GOP establishment. And you're already seeing it in the local GOPs, and you're already seeing them say, well, I don't know about Byron. I really like Casey DeSantis, and you heard Ron. This is what we're up against, Puppet.
Casey DeSantis is the Obama-Biden play. It's the same exact play.
Well, yeah. Well, it's the Hillary Clinton play. Who wants... And look, Casey DeSantis is very... I've met her. She's very nice. She's a pleasant woman.
But she's a puppet.
But she's not a governor. Okay?
No. She has no business being up there.
Right. But Ron DeSantis and his... everybody thinks she should be the next governor. Why? Because she was married to you and she already lives in the... Who's everybody? You mean the GOP establishment? Hey, Ron.
I know no one who thinks that. And the obvious... It's so obvious that the only reason you would want her up there and in government is so that you can be the governor by proxy.
Right. Continuity of the establishment. And that's what they want. They want continuity of the establishment. It's happening here. It's happening there. The globalists, the Uni Party, these people, the people that Trump is fighting desperately to stop so America can be put first. That's what America First means. That's what MAGA is. It's taking our country back from them, like Trump's first inaugural in 2016. I'm not taking power from one party and giving it to the other one. I'm taking the power from them and giving it back to you. The threat Trump poses to that system, they are not going to let it go. And this crap with Ukraine was all part of it. It was all part of it. What you're seeing with DeSantis and Casey, all part of it. And this is the fight that MAGA has in front of them. We're going to have to defend the values of America First because, look, you have Tulsi Gabbard, you have RFK Jr. These people are Democrats, but they're part of the America First movement. And the Republicans hate it just as much as the Democrats do. We're going to have to fight like we fought to get those people confirmed. We're going to have to fight to preserve the America First principles, or else they're going to be gone. Because in 3.5 short years, you'll have some other GOP establishment person pretending to be MAGA, like DeSantis or Casey or whoever. And at the end of the day, we're going to lose everything we fought for. And that's why that is so important to keep an eye on. I would keep an eye on it. Let's go back to Epstein files. Oh,
yeah,
my God.
I want to make the transition.
Wait a minute. I completely forgot. Andrew Tate, Tristan Tate, released by Romania, come to the United States.
Oh, yeah.
They come to Florida. And what I have this clip, how I might have to load it. They come to Florida, and what does Ron DeSantis do? He says, they're not welcome here, and I've directed my attorney general to look into whether or not we can convict them, we can charge them with something based on the accusations in Romania. Wait a second. Ron DeSantis is using lawfare against... Now, I am not endorsing Andrew or Tristan Tate's behavior or anything they did. I don't know if they're guilty or not for what they've been. None of that.
But they
matters.
haven't been convicted.
Right. The point is, they're American citizens. They're American citizens. They come to Florida.
They're not guilty of anything.
Right. Innocent until proven guilty American citizens come to Florida, and Ron DeSantis tells them they're not welcome here. And more than that, says, I'm going to direct my chief law enforcement officer to see if we can charge him with something.
To see if we can find some crimes here and pin it on him.
Holy crap. If that doesn't scare you, MAGA, then I don't know what does. When the governor of the state of Florida is directing his law enforcement to look into two American citizens, be the MAGA governor, because he says they're not welcome in the state. What happens when you're not welcome in the state, MAGA? What happens when you're not welcome in the state if you support Byron Donalds? This is not okay. And this is the same crap that these globalist elitists are doing in Europe. And Ron DeSantis is peachy keen on going along with it. We are not going back, to borrow something Kamala Harris said so eloquently. We're not going back to that. And that scares me. Everybody needs to pay attention to that. Let's talk about the Epstein files.
Okay, but let me make this transition on the Epstein files because
are you transitioning?
I don't know where you're going with the Epstein files.
Are you transitioning?
Yes, I am, and we're going to get to that after the Epstein files.
Okay, got it.
Because I am going to the doctor, Dave.
What?
I know, I got to tell you about it, but that's at the end of the show.
What?
So...
Are you going to get one of those arm penises?
So here's the deal, though. This takeover of MAGA by fake MAGA is why people are so pissed off about the Epstein files. Because Pam Bondi was one of the cabinet picks that was what MAGA folks felt was a bit tame and potentially dangerous to the cause, that she might not have actually been MAGA, but really a pretender, like a MAGA pretender. And then all of a sudden she's in there. She makes promises, Epstein files, this, that, the other. They're on my desk. I looked at him. Oh my God, he's done such bad stuff. It's disgusting. And then the release, which is all just hoopla and hype with the social media influencers and everything. And then you open up the binder and it's a big nothing burger.
Right.
Like, that was a fiasco. And if you are someone out there like you, Dave, who's saying, we got to be careful we don't put people in power that are MAGA light, and then you see stuff like this happen, you start to get a little bit nervous. And I think that's why people are freaking out over the Epstein thing. Couple that with the fact that Kash Patel, everybody was wild about Kash Patel, worked their butts off to get Kash Patel in the seat. Kash Patel said, all of these people are very, very vocal leading up to their appointments, outspoken and saying they're going to do this and saying they're going to do that. Day one of this and day one of that and all of that stuff. They get installed.
Day one happens.
And nothing happens, and you hear nothing. They all go silent. Now, I understand there's politics involved and there's all I's that have to be dotted and T's that have to be crossed, but it's a little unsettling to us out here working on the ground to put these people in who are trying to change this country, that when we get our guy in there, or in the case of Pam Bondi, someone that we really didn't want but we're hopeful about, and then they go silent on us, they don't fulfill their promises, they do something like Epstein comes out, but it's they're being pressured, we're pressuring them, they finally do something, and when they do something, it's like it was a fake out. And this is the concern of the true MAGA on the ground, people that are trying to make America great again, and things like this just kind of muddy up and muck up the works and make us look bad and foolish, I think, at the same time. It also starts to pit us against each other and creates it fractures the movement, which we can't have that.
Right.
So now you're at take on the Epstein
That
files.
was the transition?
Transition over to you, Dave, for for your take on Epstein.
You got to work on your transitions. So let me play the clip.
Okay.
The noise, the chatter, I truly don't listen to it. I'm here to fight for Donald Trump's agenda. I'm fighting for America. That's what we're all doing as a team. We're going to keep going forward. And I can't care. I don't care. I'm not going to worry about what these people say or do. I know I'm doing the right thing to end weaponization for our country. And that's what I'm going to continue.
I don't doubt that, by the way, that she's trying to look. We are way better with Pam Bondi as Attorney General than we were with Merrick Garland. So,
of course, that is true.
So that's good already. And we're way better with Kash Patel than who's the idiot that was just there?
Comey? No.
That
was before that. After that.
Like literally just left. Anyway, whatever.
The thing is,
no, but let me say my point.
Okay.
So the thing is,
that was my transition. Go ahead. Stop talking about my thing, Dave.
I'm totally not. So I lost my train of thought. So let's just say. So here's the thing. We're so much better off with those people there. And yes, they've said day one, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. Have some patience. I mean, it's been like 2 weeks, maybe, that Pam Bondi's been in there. A week that Kash Patel has been in there. There's limit. You still have a whole FBI filled with people who probably hate you. You don't know who you can trust. You saw what they did to Trump. I'm sure they're hiding things, shredding things, slow walking things, coming up with their insurance policies. I mean, these are not easy people to just go in and say, hey, there's a new sheriff in town. There's a lot that has to be done. So I have to give them the benefit of time to figure out what's going on. And then, I mean, look, it's going to take a couple of weeks to get rid of the bad people. It's just going to take some time. And that being said, I think the Pam Bondi Epstein files things, I think she got bamboozled a bit, as will happen to people who are not used to dealing in the world of Trump. A lot of people think that when you go to Washington, D.C., and you're the attorney general, that you're going to be treated with the due respect that you would treat the attorney general. That's not how things work in Trump world, because
that's not how they work in the deep state world.
But that's what I'm saying. If you work for Trump, you are treated like the enemy. Sebastian Gorka talks about this all the time. They consider Trump the enemy. So they're not going to freely just turn over documents to you. They're going to tell you have phase 1 of the Epstein files and it's all really compelling stuff. And they're going to tell you there's terrible things in it. And then you'll realize that, holy crap, this was already been released and this is nothing new. And I thought I had something here. And I think really that's what it was. I think Bondi is learning the hard way that they're not going to play nice with her at the FBI and the agencies that are underneath her, because she's the enemy now. And she's never occupied that position in Florida. When she was Attorney General of Florida, there was no deep state for her to contend with. It was friendly. She could do whatever she wanted. It's different in D.C. And so I think that whole Epstein file release thing, I think backfired, because I think she didn't appreciate how devious the deep state could be. And that's why I think during the day she demanded that she gets all those files from that New York FBI office and just demanded that Cash make sure that happens, because I think she felt a little irritated. The whole influencer thing, a lot of people were upset about that influencers were invited to the White House and they had these Epstein files and they were like laughing and high-fiving each other while showing the binders to the press. And people thought it was insensitive based on the fact that, there's very serious crimes and things. And I think really that was just taken out of context. I think they were given a to-go bag. It was like like, here, you've been to the White House. Here's a coin and take this binder. We're going to release this later. Please don't release it until we release it. But now you have an advanced copy where you are the press now because you're influencers and you have bigger audience than some of these media outlets. And then there happen to be media just standing outside. And what do when you're an influencer and there's a camera? You pose. And so I think that it was just a bad day for optics. But I don't think it was some sort of nefarious thing where
I don't think that
Bondi
either.
doesn't plan on investigating Epstein files or holding her words.
I don't think that's it either.
I think it was just, again,
I think it just turned into a shit show. That was just one piece of a shitty puzzle.
Right, but I'll say it's like this. Everybody's still settling into their roles. Trump is moving at lightning speed. And so
that's part of the problem.
Right.
He moves at lightning speed and makes everybody else look, and he communicates exceptionally well. This is part of the problem. These people, I understand it's complicated, and I understand they're in there for a short period of time, and they have a lot of housekeeping to do and
they got to learn. They're new.
But they could continue to communicate, and they are not.
Okay, but look, Kash Patel, look at what normal administrations look like, right? People talk about this as one of the youngest administrations in modern, like in history, like all these younger people. You look at Carolyn Levitt and all these people, and a lot of these people it's the least Washington centric administration. These people are not coming from. They're not people who ran for. Look at almost every other administration, right?
Yeah, they're not bureaucrats.
They're all bureaucrats who ran for office. They're polished politicians. They know what to say. They're bureaucrats. Cash isn't a bureaucrat. Pam Bondi was the Attorney General of Florida, but she's never really had to play the Washington game. And so you go down the list, and J.D. Vance, too. He was a senator, never ran for president, never really had to be on he was a senator from Ohio. And like you mentioned before, he's one of us. These people are all being thrusted very quickly into a world where Trump has had almost a decade to adapt to. But Trump from 2016 to 2020, he was figuring it out in the hard way. And all of his staff now are figuring out the hard way too, because this isn't normal. And that's good, right? That's why they don't have the answers right away, because this isn't the world they come in. If we had some bureaucrat FBI director, they'd be saying all the right things. But I'm okay that they're not saying the right things. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with mistakes being made.
I want them to say something. That's my point.
Listen, they're keeping up with a guy like Donald Trump and Elon Musk, who have been preparing for this for months. Now, these guys were all appointed and confirmed recently. But Trump has been preparing to do this for a year. He knew the America First Policy Institute was saying, this is what we're going to institute. This was ready to go on day one, and they're moving as fast as possible with a record number of executive orders because, like I told you, Puppet, this Ukraine thing could be the thing that gets a couple of wishy-washy, spineless Republicans to go, you know what, I'm not behind you anymore. And that kills everything because of our slim majority. Trump has to move lightning fast to take – it's a power play. While there's a man in the penalty box, he has to score as many goals as possible. And it's hard for his people to keep up because they're new to the game. And so I'm giving them a little bit of grace in this transition. And that's my thought on that.
I have one other thing. This is a deeper conversation. Probably shouldn't even open this can of worms, but something we haven't really talked about. So Epstein, let's talk about Epstein files for a minute.
Okay.
I mean, the actual, and JFK files, all of the files, we obviously the American people want to see the files. We want to see what the heck is real and what is fake.
Do we want to see the files?
Yes. The people say they want to see the files.
Who? What people?
The American people.
Now, this is an important conversation, and I'm pushing back on purpose because you and I, we're in the world, right? We're, as Gorka says, we're the nerds who consume this stuff, right?
No, do most people want to see the files?
I don't think people care. I think most Americans don't even know about.
Well, I think that you've got a couple of crowds. You have the people that just believe the narrative, so they don't need to see the files because they already know the truth, and there's going to be nothing in the files, right? That's their point of view.
I don't even think they think that deeply about it. I really believe that the majority of Americans could care less about Epstein files and JFK files. I think that's more of a big deal for us in the political world who've been demanding that kind of transparency and felt like Epstein's death was suspicious. But I think the majority of Americans don't care. I think we on social media care.
I think you could put that. Most Americans don't care about politics, period.
Right.
Unless it negatively affects them. And they only care about the issue that negatively affects them when it negatively affects them. Yeah. So, I mean, you could paint that brush on just about anything. So I guess then we really should only talk about the people that are somewhat paying attention and interested.
Well, that's who we're talking
things.
to right now.
So
I was just correcting your statement that everybody is interested. I don't think they are. The people who watch our show are.
Okay, the people that are interested in politics are interested.
Correct.
Okay, that's fair enough. But I mean, I guess that's kind of a given.
Anyway, could proceed.
So, but here's the thing. It's not so easy to just release these files. I can't imagine geopolitically, it's easy to release these files, right? Lord knows who's in these files, right? These names that are in these files. Politicians, we all can imagine there's some significant politicians in these files, right? We could then take that a step further and say, well, are there some international politicians that are in these files that were named here that have been doing just disgusting things with little children that shouldn't be done? And let's say that someone was in those files that was a significant political leader from another country that, quite frankly, is either important to national security of the United States or a threat to national security of the United States. So then we drop this bomb and we out these people. Then what happens to those relationships with the United States? I'm sure they're not going to be just really excited about the fact that they were outed by the United States for being pedophiles and this and that, and how that's going to affect them in their home countries and their reputations and their careers. And then that creates a snowball effect of problems, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, look.
So... Yeah, it makes, we want to see the files because we want to end this kind of behavior, corruption, disgusting, all of that. And we want people to pay the price. But at the same time, there are other considerations that are significant and that there are significant ramifications to this kind of information just being released.
Let's ask about this, though. Let's talk about these files, right?
And that's if the files were untouched.
Well, that's a whole nother thing. But what we have right now are flight logs, right? That's what flight logs. So people were at Epstein Island. It doesn't necessarily suggest that the people that were there were engaging in illegal activity. You don't know.
No.
I mean, yes, he was a creep, and not a lot of people. Maybe people didn't know. I don't know. But the point is, appearing on a manifest isn't.
No, none of that. We're not waiting for the manifest. We've had those. There's videotapes.
Right.
There's all kinds of things.
Who has those, you think? Because this is a criminal investigation, right? So they're not going to release evidence that are being used in a criminal investigation to the public until people are prosecuted. And so the only time you're going to get those files or that evidence is after the prosecutions are over.
Right.
So you have to ask yourself then.
Which then it's not coming out.
Or if it is coming out, that means whatever is coming out isn't going to actually result in any prosecution because it wouldn't be released otherwise.
Right.
So all that happens is now you have a witch hunt and assumptions for people to go, ooh, Donald Trump was on this list. I don't know if he is. I'm just saying, ooh, this person's on the list. Ooh, this person's on the list. All these people are bad people. When we don't know if that's the truth or not. And I'm not defending anybody. Don't misunderstand.
No, I know that.
But what I'm saying is we want these Epstein files. What are we going to do with it? If the people who are charged with prosecuting people, right, for committing these crimes, if they're like, yeah, we can't charge any of these people, what are we going to do? It's not on us then to prosecute them in the form of public opinion.
No, and look, that's the people, honestly, even the political people, the people we described as people paying attention. I don't think that they care. They want the Epstein files either, quote unquote, the Epstein files either. What
they
we
want people to be prosecuted.
We want people to be prosecuted.
Correct. Which is why I don't give a shit about the files. I want the prosecutions.
Yes, we want to know who committed crimes, and we want them to be tried for those crimes.
Correct.
We want them to go to jail for those crimes.
For engaging in inappropriate activity with children on Epstein Island. I don't want people to get arrested for engaging in inappropriate activities in the United States, in California. I want people to get arrested for all the shit that they've gotten away with over all of these years. I don't want to see flight logs that are redacted.
No, me neither.
That it means something. That is my point about these Epstein files. Same thing with the JFK files, right? Did you find the person who did it or not? If you didn't find who did, don't release a bunch of files that just do nothing besides get people theorizing that maybe it was the Secret Service agent in the front. Look, the reality is you got to have evidence and you got to convict people. Everything else is just distraction for us to go and go down these rabbit holes of conspiracy. Now, here's the thing. The other thing about these files being released, and this is why I said this with JFK files, I'll say the same thing with Epstein files, right? If Epstein didn't hang himself, right? If Epstein didn't hang himself, if he was killed, which a lot of people believe, whoever went through the effort to find a way to kill Epstein in prison, right, and get away with it, are you telling me that level of coordination
can't hide the files?
Right. Somehow stopped at the lock of the file cabinet. They can get into a federal prison, into a cell, but they can't pick a lock on a file cabinet. So the reality is there's not going to be anything in the Epstein files that they don't want in it. Same thing with the JFK files. There's not going to be anything in the JFK files.
Right. Well, that's why this is all BS, but at the same time, it's the problem. Because what we want as American people is the truth. And we're not getting it, and we're not going to get it.
You're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. If you want the truth, even if that's true, and look, and I believe President Trump will be as transparent as possible, most transparent administration in history. I believe that. Well, why don't they go, well, here are all of our top secret military aircraft, by the way, that are flying in the skies that you don't know about? Well, of course you're not going to know about that because you can't. There's national security reasons. We still have security clearances for a reason. There's things that the public doesn't need to know because they shouldn't know for various reasons, because we don't know who the public is. We don't know what foreign governments are, and we have to have an advantage, clandestine advantage over our adversaries. And the same thing goes for whatever happened in the JFK situation, whatever happened in the Epstein situation. There's going to be people that they're going to protect. And I'm not saying they should be protected. I'm just saying you shouldn't think that just because in the effort of transparency that they're going to go and give things up. They're not going to. And I just don't think we're ever going to get the information we want. I think we'll get some of the arrests we want. I don't think we'll get all of the arrests we want. And that's just the reality of the way things work. Is some people, unfortunately, are above the law. Some businesses are too big to fail. And some people are too powerful to ever become subject And it has to stop. It has to change. I believe Donald Trump versus anybody else is probably in the best position to change it. But I don't think that all the behaviors I don't think all of a sudden they're going to be able to prosecute all these people that always should have been prosecuted. I just don't think they've preserved the evidence in a manner that didn't protect certain people. Maybe I'm being whatever the word is. Anyway, I hope a lot of people go to jail for it. It's disgusting. And unfortunately, it happens too often in Hollywood and in Epstein Island and in politics. And these people get away with everything. And it should stop. But I'm not under the impression that releasing a file that's all redacted, and even the part that's redacted, I don't think the file exists that's going to do the things that we hope it's going to do. That's at least my theory on that.
All right, Dave, we have some news, right?
Yeah. So what a good show, man. It's an hour and a half we've been chit-chatting with ourselves. Yeah, so this show, by the way, if you've been watching, and I'm sure Jim Bob is in the chat and wondering why we're not responding back, and we'll try. This is a pre-recorded show tonight. We usually do our live show on Monday. These shows are going to be pre-recorded from now on. So you'll still have this, but it's going to be more like this. We're not going to be doing the live with the panels as much. Maybe we will. But the reason why is because we are launching a brand new podcast. I don't know, brand new. It's just a new iteration of what you guys love the most. And so the live shows now are going to be on Tuesdays and Thursday at a time to be announced. And should we just tell them the name of it? How much should we tell them, Puppet?
Yeah, I think we can tell you the name of it.
Yeah. So the show's called Politically Uncensored, and it's something we've been working on for a really long time. It's a brand we're proud of. And what we're doing is we're freeing your mouth so your minds can follow. And we are going to have a lot of discussions. We have a brand new co-host joining us. And should we release that too, or should we surprise people?
I think we should surprise people on that.
All right, yeah. So we have a brand new co-host joining us.
Super exciting co-host.
Super exciting co-host. Somebody that we've gotten to know pretty well lately. Somebody that's a fantastic host in her own right. Has done amazing things. In the end, I'm being careful not to give her away.
Yeah, come on.
In the entertainment space.
She's awesome. You're going to love her. You already love her.
And what it's going to do is we're going to be able to bring conversations that we don't usually have in conservative circles. We're going to be talking about different things. And it's going to be a late night show. And it's not just going to be all boring politics. We're going to have a lot of fun. And it's going to be starting here very soon. Big announcement coming. But so we won't be live on Mondays anymore after. Well, we're not now live now.
But what about the spaces, Dave? Tell them about the spaces, Dave.
But on Mondays, though, for all of the people who like to be live with Puppet and Pollack on Mondays, 7 p.m. Eastern on Mondays, probably beginning not this coming Monday that you're watching the show now, but next Monday. I don't know what date that is. Let me look at my calendar. What's next Monday, Puppet? It is the 10th. So beginning on the 10th of March, 7 p.m. Eastern, David Pollack Show, well, not David Pollack Show, the David Pollack, Puppet Carlson, and our new surprise co-host will be doing Spaces every Monday at 7 p.m. for 2 hours before our friends start their new show. And we're going to be having a lot of fun with you live in Spaces, so we look forward to seeing you there. Tuesdays, Thursdays, time to be announced. New show called Politically Uncensored. It's going to be a nice late night show. This version of the show you'll still have pre-recorded. We're going to get you news clips and big interviews, and you're going to get all that. And Puppet, you alluded to some kind of weird transition. What's going on with that?
So, Dave,
no,
we're having this. There's a lot of change, and we're going to have a new show, and we have a female co-host, and I want to look my best for the ladies.
You want to prune up your. I'm not even going to come. I'm not going to say
and
a whole
I have
episode
been,
without saying the MH word. I'm not going to say the MH word. Go ahead.
So I was watching some celebrity Hollywood stuff, and I saw that how all these celebrities go in and they get all this plastic surgery and they get all dolled up and they look completely different afterwards. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go try that. So I made a couple appointments, Dave. I'm going to go in for a little bit of, lip fillers and a little bit of Botox. I'm going back to the My Pillow factory and having some work done, Dave.
So instead of nip and tuck, you're going to like stitch and...
It's going to be like fluff and stuff.
Oh,
I'm going to get a little fluff and stuff, Dave.
You're going to get a little fluff and stuff?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I'm gonna look so dashing and handsome. You're not even gonna recognize me.
Well, Puppet, look, I love you the way you are. I don't think you need to change, but if it'll make you feel more confident as a mannequin American to get out there and enhance your image, and I get it, you're competing against all of this. And
which isn't that difficult, Dave, but I thought a little spruce up, might help.
Right. So all right, well go. I wish you the best of luck. Be
Thanks,
careful.
Dave.
Do they put you under for that or what?
Yeah, they're gonna put me under. I'm a bit nervous, Dave.
Yeah, you got to protect that. I almost did it. A whole show without the MH word. Yeah.
Well, you're gonna while I'm out, Dave. Don't you be thinking you can get up in there. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not planning on getting up in anything.
I know you try. You're gonna try, Dave.
All right. Well, I wish you the best of luck in your procedures. Hopefully, you found somebody good. Is Mike Lindell doing it himself, or?
No, I wasn't able to get Lindell himself, so I'm
Dr.
relegated.
Lindell is very busy these days.
He is. I really have to pop a pillow. Has pawned me off on a couple of low-level staffers, and yeah.
Are you going to Turkey? Is this like one of those Turkish ones, or those Egypt or Mexico things? Or
yeah, I'm probably gonna. It's probably it's the My Pillow factory in Mexico, Dave.
I doubt. No, they're all made. All My Pillow products are proudly made in the USA, Puppet, and you know that.
That is true. That is true. I think they lied to me. I don't think it's actually a My Pillow factory. It's a Me Pillow factory.
Your pillow. Your pillow factory.
It's totally a knockoff, Dave.
Temu My Pillow.
It's a Temu. I'm going to the Temu My Pillows, Dave, for nip and tuck.
No, fluffing
stuff.
Listen, good luck. And we can't wait to see how it looks. I'm nervous for you, and I guess I'll miss this face somehow. But at least it'll always be on recording. Guys, that's all the time we have for tonight. Actually, we have all the time we want. This is all the time I feel like spending with you tonight.
Yeah, this is enough, Dave.
Yeah.
I'm tired of you.
These Monday nights have been a ton of fun. We're still going to see you on Monday nights. And actually, we'll probably see you more because we're going to cut these up and put them out as content throughout the week. So you're going to see a little bit more of us. But I'm really, really, really excited about these Tuesday, Thursday shows and the resuming of spaces on Monday. So we'll see plenty of you guys. And with that, we will bid you adieu. Right, Puppet? Say goodnight, everybody.
Yeah. Do you have any clips to go out on, Dave?
I was going to. I do. I'm looking for it. Listen, I had a lot of clips tonight. There was a great clip that I really wanted to play from our good friends at the United Spot. It was hilarious. I just don't know where it went, and I'm trying to find it on the fly. Wait a second. Is this it? I think I found it. Hold on. If this is
get it queued up.
I'm gonna. Yeah, we can filibuster while I get it queued up, and I'll end the show with that because our good friends at United Spot. If you're not following them over on X, don't follow them. And I only tell you that because that's what they tell me to say. They don't like all the praise, but they're really hilarious and they have good videos. There might be an F-bomb one F-bomb. They usually bleep them out. They missed one here. So anyway, this is a sensitive language warning. On this United Spot video. We'll leave it. It's really funny. It is a take on basically Trump and Elon are cops, and they're interrogating Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi about insider trading. It's actually really funny. And once it loads up here, we can end the show on the clip. Why not? Right, Puppet?
Yeah, that sounds perfect, Dave. And as everybody knows, the fleece.
Well, don't say it yet. We're not ready to cut to it. So you could it's not time for the line yet.
Oh, how much time before it uploads, Dave?
I don't know. It says processing. I'm waiting for it to process. Once it's processed, then it'll be time for you to say your little line.
Okay, then I'll say my line and then we'll play the clip and we'll get out of here.
But you know what? While we're waiting for that to load, guys, check out. Is politicallyuncensored.com live yet, Puppet?
Yeah, it is live. I mean, there's some articles up there that we've written in the past, some old episodes of the David Pollack Show. There's something there. I mean, we're going to be doing work on it. It's just the phase, iteration 1.0 is up there. So you can
well, and we
follow
also
us here on X. They're at
Politically Uncensored.
We Be Uncensored.
That's
Dave.
right. It's We Be Uncensored.
We Be Uncensored.
So if you want to follow, you go ahead and do that right now. Go and get that follow button on at We Be Uncensored. WEBE Uncensored. We Be Uncensored.
Yeah,
You
baby.
Be
We Be Uncensored.
Yeah, we'll be uncensored. So go ahead and do that, and a lot of big stuff to come. And look, let's see what happens with. Like I said, be vigilant. I'm concerned about these not so spontaneous Ukraine protests and where this is going to go. It's really important that we really do have to be getting the presidents back on this one, because it's going to be us versus them. It's going to be like this for the next 4 years. And with that, it's time for you to say your line, Puppet.
Folks, the fleece stops here.
All right. We'll see you next week, everybody. Good night.
Bye.
Doge boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when we audit you? Doge boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when we audit you?
What should we do today, Elon?
Same thing we do every day, Mr. President.
Investigate and audit all the criminals?
Exactly.
You wanted to see us? I hope you guys had fun investigating me. Because now, it's time for me to investigate you.
Whoop, whoop.
What's this all about? Yeah, what are we doing here, Trump? Chuck, I'd advise you to shut the up when you're talking to me.
Sorry.
What are we doing here, Trump? Yeah, what are we doing here, Trump?
You've both been caught red-handed.
Red-fucking-handed. For what? We're innocent. Yeah, we're innocent, Trump. Well, so far we got insider trading, treason, evidence tampering. What? I would never do anything like that. Yeah, me neither.
Don't forget about embezzlement and collusion.
Yeah, we got enough here to put you two scumbags away for life.
Yeah, you guys fucked.
This is outrageous. Yeah. I'm a public servant.
Me too.
I'll bury you in a mountain of smear campaign. Yeah, we're innocent. This is nothing but a witch hunt. A witch hunt.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
What? This is absurd. I've never lied about anything in my life. Yeah, me neither.
So you and Chucky Boy didn't make millions in stocks?
Well, I mean, I made a couple bucks, but I mean, I just got lucky, that's all. Yeah, I got lucky too.
You use your position to make millions trading stocks.
Yep.
Right before major policy announcements. And what about those suspiciously timed stock dumps?
That never happened. I mean, you have zero proof on this.
Yeah.
Fancy.
Your net worth jumped from 20 million to over 100 million on a congressional salary.
Yeah, so? I mean, what's your point?
That's statistically impossible.
Yep.
Unless you're a time traveler.
So I'm a criminal for being good at investing in stock? That's preposterous.
Yeah, we've already done an internal investigation, Trump, and we found ourselves innocent of everything. Where'd all your campaign money go? And where's all the deleted emails and J6 footage?
What's the matter, Nancy? Vodka got your tongue? Or is Paul hammering too loud? I plead the fifth.
Yeah, a fifth of vodka.
You'll never get away with this, Trump. Amelia will bury you, and I own Amelia.
Wrong. Exit.